All right. This is another. I don't feel like plugging in the mic, so I'm just going to record like this. And I was going to call this Do You Feel It in the Air? About revolution and everything. I say, nah, let's not do that. Let's stay on the path I'm on. I'm going to stay on the path that I've been on, which is we have to curb our expectations and be realistic about the future. Fact is that a revolution or a collapse will probably occur. It probably will. The fact is that the West in general, specifically the United States, Australia, the UK, ironically, of course, it's AUKUS idea, and even Canada to a point. I can't really speak for Western Europe in the same way, although they're on a slightly different path, I think, and they're playing the game with Russia. That's a whole other story. Is it as much as these things change, they will stay the same. The United States is this gregarious entity that has been controlled basically now by a handful of corporations. I think we know this. McDonald's, Walmart. I know McDonald's I know nowadays is controlled, I think, by a British firm, but anyway. McDonald's, Walmart, your chain restaurants, like for example Olive Garden or whichever else, your Starbucks, this and that. And it has made the United States it's made the landscape of the United States seem homogenous wherever you go. It's like, oh yeah, there's the rundown, liquor store that you go to, right? Oh yeah, there's the whichever place, right? It's the way these things work. So we have to realize that no matter what entity or entities take over, I still have the view of the United States, the future of it as a post-Qing dynasty China. After the Xinhai Rebellion, and you have different groups vying for power, right? You had Yuan Shikai trying to, make himself into the new emperor. You had people like Sun Yat-sen. You had, the Ma clique, which did have kind of proto-socialist ideas in some cases, but eventually went to the Kuomintang. And there were a lot of elements there. And eventually everything coalesced. You had the gangs, obviously, like the Green Gang and bigger Du Yusheng out in Shanghai. And this all coalesced basically into the Kuomintang versus the Chinese Communist Party, or the Communist Party of China, however way you want to put it. Maybe this is kind of a prelude to me reading about guerrilla warfare and the let me see here, I may have to do this differently, but yeah, the 114 pages that it'll take to read. What we have to realize is that Chinese society has many aspects that were ingrained in people. American society, the same way. Now I could give my very American ignorant points of view about China, but I could give my fairly accurate, deep-seated, ingrained beliefs in the United States. Football, for example. Football is not going away, especially not in the South. So it doesn't matter what sort of Marxist Leninist or what sort of fascist or whichever group is going to take over various parts of the United States. They're going to give lip service to football and co-opt it so that they could keep people entertained. You could say the same thing with basketball and with baseball to a different degree. Like I say, I live in the South, so obviously football is something everybody has done. Basketball and baseball depends on where you go. But generally speaking, it's not something that's promoted in the South anyway. I can't really speak for the rest of the country. Now, how will these be reformed is a matter of opinion, right? If it was a fascist group, more than likely the practices of, I'm gonna go full on left wing here, but basically the slave auctions that occur in baseball, or excuse me, yeah, all the sports basically, basketball, football, and baseball, especially basketball, with obviously mostly black folks being auctioned off and people deciding where they're going to trade them and all this sort of thing. It's like, sending them to another plantation, and maybe I'm being real racist and being real, but I'm going to say it nonetheless. Basketball, I think, arguably, is just it's an extension of slavery, really. I mean, you could really think about it that way. And you could think about a lot of sports that way. Obviously, you get a lot of the Cubanos and, folks from the Dominican Republic and whatnot. A lot of those folks come to the United States to play baseball, right? So, I mean, like I said, you could break it up whatever way you want to. Same thing is done in football as well. And it's a business. That's the whole thing. These are all businesses that are meant to, that are there to entertain you. And of course, the thing is they want to appeal to everybody. And that's why you had part of the problem of the whole business when you see, people like LeBron James in basketball talking about BLM. Or you have, of course, the light-skinned brother, the guy that was raised by white people, that football player, the one that was kneeling and all that business. You see him give his political takes. I mean, the thing is that they are appealing to the larger system. They don't care about you, boomer. And that's what you have to realize. They don't care about you, boomer. But obviously boomers and, different, age folks really still believe in the equity of sports. The fact is, there's nothing equitable about sports at all. This is why there are folks that say, oh, well, I can predict these games and all that. That's just another form of making money for them. But, these are not equitable. I think most people should at least have the idea that, yeah, it's not as equitable as you may think. Even MMA. But the thing is, though, these things are not going to disappear. They could be reformed, potentially, even under a Marxist-Leninist system, but they'll still exist. Because that's what keeps that's what will keep American society docile to a point. Just as the Olympics are used to kind of keep the world docile to a point. These things are not going to disappear. They are just going to be used as instruments of the state, regardless of how large those states are and who's in charge. They always have been, always will be, So we have to realize that. So even if the United States as an entity collapsed, that Walmart building is not going to go unused. And I doubt that they would allow, the individuals would allow the wholesale, looting of these places and whatnot. I imagine that, Walmarts would be protected. They would change up a McDonald's or change up a KFC or whatever to make it more appealing to the local taste, right? That happens all the time. There's a Burger King that recently got shut down, and within a couple months, somebody bought it, and now they turned it into a seafood place. You know, they redid the inside and seems to be doing fairly well. It's a good location. But anyway, beyond that, as much as things change, they stay the same. You know, it's like Louisiana. You know, you're still going to have your crawfish and your, eating your gator meat and all that, and Mardi Gras and all that sort of thing, right? And the jazz and all that business. You're not going to get rid of that. Not realistically, anyway. It's the same thing with, I don't know, pick an area, I guess. I don't know. But you have to realize that even after a revolution, you can go ahead and destroy as much as you want to and try to be like a Mao and try to destroy Buddhism and part of the three olds and destroy the legacy of Buddhism and Taoism and all this. But now we've seen the resurgence of it. It comes right back around. And the Dangists, to a point, realized if they pledge loyalty to us, why do we care? As long as they're loyal to us, who cares about destroying it? Why do we need to do that? The backlash will come back to us. Why do we need that? Right? And that's the more realistic option, right? Why worry about trying to destroy all of these aspects that a lot of these, Antifa folks, and to some degree, Wagnats feel that way. Let's just destroy everything, accelerationist gang. And I was an accelerationist, but I'm waking up from that dream. I'm sobering up from that drunkenness, and I'm trying to be realistic now. The reality is that you're not going to get rid of those things. The backlash will come to you. So you subvert it. You co-opt it, so that you are not given an opposition, right? So you don't have people that will write samizdat and all that sort of thing, right? About the Russian Orthodox Church. Now that the Russian Orthodox Church has power, they don't feel the need to, do any reform, any changes. Like, well, they're with us. They're with the government. We have to be realistic about these things. That the system is what it is, wherever you are. People can talk about, American democracy and populism bad. I just watched this video where they're talking about Star Wars, this and that, and how populism, while it sounds good, we need to hold on to democracy and update it. It's like, no. We're too far gone. And we see that with people like Joe Biden, right? Everybody's making a hullabaloo about the fact that somebody was whipping their, I think it was the horse strap towards a Haitian migrant. And, like I say, you'll see, of course, even here in Texas, I think it's like the Haitian American Association, something like that. They, of course, are talking a big game, saying, well, we need to treat them better, this and that. But it's like, I don't think that they're going to lift their fingers. They're not going to lift a finger to go down there and help them either. They're going to be like, we have our jobs and stuff like that. So, maybe we'll help a couple of you, but we don't want to go that far, right? I mean, at least that's my take. So yeah, I mean, there are enough people who are secured in this system. There are plenty who aren't. But for now, people can be adaptable. And they can pledge loyalty to America today. And then they could say, well, I'm loyal to this anarchist system. I'm loyal to this, government that's really controlled by China or Russia or wherever the next day. That's the reality of it. You know, as long as they can keep making their money, as long as they can maintain what they have. Yeah, there are people who have higher ambitions, sure. But for the most part, people are just like, as long as I can maintain what I have, I don't care who's in charge, right? It's much the same way as people like Lord Rothschild, who said, as long as I control the money, who cares what laws they make, you know? But anywho, that's a whole different thing. We have to, just be realistic about what happens afterwards. To me, the collapse and the coming conflicts, plural, will occur in the United States. Whatever those factions are, I don't know what they are. I say ML and all this because I'm so stuck in this internet bullshit, but I know that MLs and Maoists, I genuinely don't think MLs or Marxist Leninist Maoists could really sustain like millions of members of of society. I genuinely don't. I could be proven wrong. Absolutely, I can be proven wrong. But I genuinely don't think it's going to happen right now. I'm just going to put it that way.
This is Titan.
I genuinely don't think it will. I think that this country will, have an economic collapse. The money will be worth nothing. The government will do all they can to keep these things going. But it looks like we're headed towards another shutdown. That's what I heard. I was listening to the empty rhetoric session from Jen Psaki, and someone came up with a question and said, we're looking at a shutdown in October. We're going to have another government shutdown, which won't affect anybody outside of Washington, D.C. for the most part, and, like parks and crap like that. But for the most part, people are just going to go about their day. But the thing is, though, it goes to show just how weak this system is. And we are seeing, of course, these people like General Milley, who is talking to the Chinese. Feel as you want to about China. Once again, I don't have any hatred towards them, but the fact this Mark Milley can go ahead and talk to the Chinese and talk as if, because he was so afraid of Trump and he made himself look like a hero. And of course he says things like, I've read Mao, I want to understand white rage. And it's just like, give me a break, bro. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. This went way too long, so I apologize for that. But yeah, be realistic about things, They're not going to immediately throw people out of their homes and put you in a camp and stuff like that. It's going to happen slowly over time. And you just have to be, you have to just try to find your way around it. Anyway, that's all I got. See you later. Bye-bye.